A car that wouldn't die on you. Not a car with a fancy screen, not a car with panoramic sunroofs and cooled seats, just a car that would start every single morning, can handle the sand, can take you through the insane Dubai heat and get you back home. That's it. That was the entire requirement. And one car kept showing up to answer that call. The Nissan Patrol. The Patrol wasn't just a vehicle here, it was a survival equipment. Emiratis took it to dunes on weekends, traders used it to cross terrain, families packed 7 people into it and drove for hours across the UAE. And through all of that, the sand, the 50-degree heat, the rough roads, the abuse, the Patrol just kept going. No drama, no breakdowns, no excuses. And here's the thing about trust, especially in a place like Dubai, where people rely a lot on cars. Once you earn it, it spreads. It goes from one family to the next. It goes from one generation to the next. A son grows up looking at his father's Nissan Patrol that almost never breaks down. And when he grows up, he buys a Nissan Sunny, thinking, okay, the Nissan Patrol never broke down. I currently don't have the budget. And I think the Nissan Sunny would be a pretty good car as well. That's how brand trust actually builds. Nissan today is the second highest selling brand in the UAE after Toyota. Now here's something that everyone in Dubai has probably experienced. I myself rarely go on the fast lane, but if you are on the fast lane, chances are in your rear view mirror there's a Nissan Patrol almost tailgating you. In fact, if it's an Abu Dhabi number, I generally give way, even if I'm on the second or the third lane. Now it's not road rage, it's a culture. The fast lane in Dubai belongs to the Nissan Patrol. Not because of arrogance, but because of what it represents. The Patrol on the highway is the physical embodiment of, I was here before you, and I'll be here long after you as well. And no one argues with it, you just move. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The Patrol isn't just popular. For Emiratis specifically, it's identity. To understand why, you need to understand what exactly the desert represents for the Emirati culture. The desert isn't just geography, it's heritage. It's where their ancestors lived, hunted, navigated, and survived. Friday dune bashing isn't a hobby, it's a ritual, a connection to where they came from. And for that ritual, you need a car that can actually do it. Not a car that looks capable, a car that genuinely goes into deep sand, climbs dunes at ridiculous angles, and comes back out the other side without asking you to book a service appointment. The Patrol does that. It has always done that. And it does it with enough space to fit the whole extended family, the cooler, the camping gear, and the Arabic coffee setup in the back. But here's the layer on top of that. The Patrol has become expensive enough to signal status and accessible enough to feel attainable. That's a rare combination. Right now in 2026, the Nissan Patrol LE Platinum City, the top spec, costs around AED 390,000. That's roughly about $106,000. And the Range Rover? The car that the world feels is the ultimate luxury SUV, starts at AED 565,000 and goes all the way up to 1,065,900 for the top SV P615 trim. So here's the comparison sitting right in front of you. The Range Rover at full spec costs around 3 times the top spec of Nissan Patrol. Now ask yourself, if you're here in Dubai with your family, and you want to go out to the desert every Friday, a car that seats 8 people commands instant respect on every UAE road and doesn't require to spend $1 million dirhams doing it? Why wouldn't you buy the Nissan Patrol? The Patrol doesn't just compete with Range Rover here. In many circles, it outranks it. Because it's not about European luxury, it's about Gulf authenticity. A Range Rover is what someone buys to impress the valet. A Patrol is what someone drives because their grandfather drove one. That's a completely different kind of status. Here's what completely changes the car math as compared to a Europe, USA, or even India. Petrol here costs around AED 2.5 to 3 per litre. Yes, due to the recent events, it is currently at a 3.5, but you expect it to go back to around 2.53. To fill a full tank, we are talking maybe AD 120 to 150 for a mid-size car. When petrol, petrol, is that cheap, all the arguments for diesel or hybrid starts falling apart very quickly. Yes, a hybrid saves fuel, but you're paying AD 20,000 to 30,000 more upfront for that hybrid badge. At Dubai fuel prices, you'd need to drive for almost a decade for you to break even. So what happens? People stay with the petrol car. And when it comes to petrol car, Nissan has the most reliable petrol engine. Nissan's petrol engines, particularly the older naturally aspirated ones, are almost offensively simple. No turbo, no complex electronics trying to squeeze out extra efficiency, just a straightforward engine doing its job. And in Dubai, that simplicity is a superpower. Here's why. Think about what a turbo engine actually is. It's a small fan spinning at insane speed, sometimes 150,000 rotations per minute, powered by exhaust gases forcing extra air into your engine to make more power. Brilliant engineering. But that fan needs cool oil to survive. It needs time to cool down before you switch the engine off. And in Dubai summers, where your car sits in outdoor parking at 60 degrees Celsius, and you come back to a scorching engine bay, and then you have the AC running on full blast, that's a lot of pressure on a turbo engine. Nissan's older petrol engines skipped all of that completely. And the result? They ran in conditions that would make other cars nervous. Mechanics here will tell you stories about Nissan Patrols and Nissan Sunnies that have run 300,000 kilometers. That's not marketing, that's word of mouth. Here's what locks people in. Most people here are expats. They are generally not planning to retire here. They are thinking 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan. So when they are buying a car, they are also thinking, will I be able to sell it after 5 years? And Nissan has built the perfect loop around this. Since Nissan as a brand and petrol as a car are so popular, the resale value of any Nissan Patrol is actually pretty good here. So again, makes a very good buy for you. But here's the honest truth though, because every story has a turning point. Walk into a Nissan showroom today and then walk into a Hyundai, Kia or any of the crazy Chinese brands like a J2 today. And you will see there's a stark difference, especially in terms of the cabin quality, the amount of luxury you feel inside a J2 T2 or the amount of features that you get from all these Chinese brands, even a Hyundai or a Kia for that matter of fact, is incredible. And Nissan is losing out on these aspects. So especially the younger generation of buyers, they want a feature-loaded car. And that is where I personally feel Nissan is lacking out right now. In fact, I made a video on why we bought a Chinese car as well. But nevertheless, the trust factor, the reliability factor still holds true. You see a lot of Nissan Patrols on the UAE roads. And it's not just Emiratis anymore. It's a lot of residents that are actually going for the Nissan Patrol. It's a machine that costs just 390k for a top spec and makes a top spec Range Rover sweat. And that is why I think Nissan Patrol actually owns the roads of Dubai.